Mission Dorothy podcast with your hostess, Tamika Williams.
Hello and welcome back to Mission Dorothy, the podcast. This is your hostess, Tamika Williams. You know, there are certain words I really wish we could retire, and these words are often used by women to describe themselves. One of the words is lazy. I hear it all the time, right? Oh, I've been so lazy. I don't know what's wrong with me. I need to get it together. I just can't seem to make myself do anything. And every time I hear it, I find myself thinking, girl, really? Really? Sometimes we will covertly utilize terminology so that we don't really have to look at the root of what's really going on. Because the evidence ain't evidencing. You get what I'm saying? See, I need you guys to look at the facts and not just your feelings. We are paying attention to our feelings all the time, and sometimes we allow our feelings to override the facts. So let's look at some facts. Like, you guys are raising children. You're working a full-time job. You're keeping a household running. You're remembering appointments nobody else can remember. Girl, you checking on people, helping people, supporting people, managing things, and how rarely they investigate themselves. Did you hear what I said? Let me just say that one more time. Women accuse themselves, and how rarely we investigate ourselves. Because those are two different things. One shuts the conversation down, right? The accusation. And the other opens up the conversation, the investigation, right? Some of us are too afraid to investigate because we are afraid to get to the root cause. We might see something that we don't like, right? And so today, I want to open up the conversation because I don't think the issue for a lot of women is laziness per se. I think women have really become, or shall I say some women have become, strangers to themselves. And so when you lose connection to your core self, your true self, your authentic self, everything starts feeling harder. Not impossible, though, just heavier. Let's have a conversation about it. So I think you might need to sit down for this conversation. Come on, girl, sit down, have a seat, okay? So, you know what's funny? You can organize everybody else's life and still have no idea what you need. See, some of you all know your best friend's Starbucks order, your husband's Social Security number, and exactly what everybody wants for Thanksgiving dinner, but if I asked you what you want right now, you would probably stare at me like I asked you quantum physics. And before somebody says, no, I know what I want, do you really? Do you really? Or do you know what needs to happen next? Because it's a difference there. A lot of women know the next task, the next responsibility, even the next obligation, right? They know the next thing that has to get handled, but wanting is a difference, right? You know what needs to get handled, but do you know what you want? Because that wanting is different than handling. See, that's a different conversation, right? And somewhere along the way, many women stop having that conversation with themselves. We get so caught up in our day-to-day schedule, our to-do list, to where we're constantly handling tasks, but we're not actually doing things that we truly desire to do. right? Now, I'm not saying that, girl, well, I mean, we got to go to work. We got to take care of the kids, got to take care of the house. We in relationships. Yes, I get all of that, right? But I want you to understand that sometimes this is neglected, and it's not because you're weak. It's not because you're broken, but I get it. Life gets loud, right? It gets demanding. It gets expensive. It gets complicated, especially now in this 2026 year. You know what I'm saying? And little by little, survival becomes the priority. And so some of us are just walking around here in survival mode all the time. And trust me when I say your nervous system is literally about to crash, because it's not healthy for anyone to be walking around in survival mode the majority of the time. So let's talk about how this actually shows up, right, in day to day. So I want you to think about this for an example. This is the woman who spends 30 minutes trying to decide what she wants to eat because she genuinely doesn't know what sounds good. The woman who keeps saying she needs a vacation but spends the entire vacation, what? Y'all already know, answering what? Emails. We also have the woman who finally gets a day to herself and then she spends the day cleaning. That is not doing what you want. That is doing what you have to do. It's something that you have to handle, right? And so here she is cleaning, not because she really wants to, but because she didn't know what else to do. Think about it. Some of us can sit down. We feel guilty for sitting down because we can think about 50 million things that we need to get done, right? But our body, our mind, our nervous system is saying, girl, sit down for a minute, honey. I can't take another task. You know what I'm saying? And so I want to say something to this woman. I want to say something to the woman that is constantly in survival mode, right? I want you to think about, how do you speak about yourself, right? Are you the woman that says, I don't even know who I am anymore? Now, that's a statement we hear all the time, right? Especially for us ladies who are going through menopause or perimenopause. But in that context, it's real for us. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that it's not real for, the woman who feels lost, because it is real for her, right? But I want you to really think about, seriously though, how serious that is. Imagine saying, I don't know who I am anymore. And then just continuing your day, making dinner, paying bills, running errands, as if that's normal. It's not normal for you to tell yourself, I don't know who I am anymore. What I want you to really look at that as a clue, because it's telling you that something is trying to get your attention. See, here's what I think. Most women don't wake up one morning disconnected. I think it happens in tiny moments. You don't say what you really feel, right? You put something important to you on hold. Oh, I'll get to it later. Oh, but I got to do this for the kids. Oh my goodness, I got to go. Me and my husband, we're going out to dinner. Oh my God, I got homework tonight, right? So you keep adjusting, you keep adapting, accommodating, pushing through, right? Remember, I said it happens in tiny moments. And then eventually you become highly functional. But the thing about it is, you're no longer connected. You've lost connection with what you want. And you're just living this life of handling tasks. Right? So now you're living your life almost entirely from responsibility. And responsibility is a terrible place to build your identity. Because responsibilities change, right? Kids grow up, marriages end, jobs end, relationships might shift, seasons change, right? You grow. And if all you've ever known yourself to be is useful, what happens when nobody needs you? Ooh, think about it. Dog, that hurts me to say it. But what happens when nobody needs you? Right? Because that's what happens for many women, right? It's this transition. And when this transition happens, women feel lost, right? Think about it. The transitions, like divorce, the empty nest syndrome, the career change, the loss. I have been through all of those. Well, I'm sorry. Baby, I ain't never been married, so I ain't been through the divorce, okay? I have relationships to end, but I haven't been through the divorce. But I have been through the empty nesting. I have been through the career change. I've had relationships end. I've had losses, right? And even for some of you guys, the move, because we have a lot of people packing up and leaving the United States or, moving off to another state, right? And let me just, give a little sidebar to the move, because what I'm also seeing is that a lot of women are moving states hoping that Texas, Cali, New York, Dubai even, is going to give them this whole brand new life. And the thing about it is that you're just moving to another location, but you're taking yourself with you. So if you don't change, then hey, you're going to be the same person in Dubai, New York, Cali, and Texas. You understand what I'm saying? Because the role, or shall I say, the role never changed, right? Whether that's your programmed self, whether it's your traumatized self, whether it is yourself that is really living in survival mode, you're bringing her right along with you. And the thing about it is that many women have never had a chance to discover who they were outside of their roles. Many women are living in their roles, and they have not seen their core selves since childhood. Is that you? When was the last time you have seen your core self? Were you 7 years old, right? And excited and happy and love cotton candy and riding your bikes and playing with little Mike up the street, right? Was that the last time, or was it when you went off to college and the experience wasn't that great and somewhere along the line you disconnected from your core? Or was it the marriage that required you to be a certain type of wife and you disconnected from your core self then? I want you to understand that God created you as your core self And then your roles became a part of you. They were not meant for you to live there. So as I tell my clients, start your day out with you, your core self. Spend 20 minutes, an hour, however long you can, and then go off and visit your roles and do what it is that you're responsible for there. And then come back home in the evening to your core self. But also, when you go out and visit those roles, you're bringing that core self with you. But a lot of you all are going and visiting your roles and unpacking there, and you sit in that wife role for 10, 15 years. You sit in the mother role sometimes for a lifetime, right? And so we have to make sure that we discover who we are outside of our roles. Can I ask you something? When was the last time you surprised yourself? Key word is surprised, not impressed somebody else, made somebody else proud, achieved something. But when was the last time you surprised yourself? Right? When was the last time you learned something about yourself? Right? What makes you laugh? What excites you? What matters to you? These are all core questions of getting to know you, your authentic self. And I hope that it hasn't been 10 years ago. Because some of us are carrying around identities that expired years ago. Ooh, y'all. Ooh, that hurts. That hurts. I know it may hurt for some of you all. But seriously, some of you all are carrying around identities that expired years ago. Old faithful, right? In that comfort zone, locked in, scared to come out, scared to change, scared to evolve, right? Scared to explore. The thing about this expired version of you is we're introducing ourselves with information that's no longer true, right? We're living from versions of ourselves we've already outgrown. And then we wonder, why can't we ask for the raise, start the business, end the relationship, start a new relationship, set the boundaries, stop people pleasing? Because you're still living from an old expired version of you, and you're afraid to explore that core version of you that has been covered up, right, by trauma, fear, anxiety, depression. It's like peeling back the layers and getting to the core of you. See, we wonder why life feels flat. And if you feel like your life feels flat, then maybe you need to check in to see, are you living one of those expired identities? Because it can be more than one. I've learned that disconnected women spend a lot of time trying to motivate themselves, right? You're looking for the best, next, greatest thing. right? As I talked about, okay, I'm going to move, I'm going to cut my hair, I'm going to color my hair, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get a tattoo, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to, just reaching and grabbing. You understand what I'm saying? That's what disconnected women do. You spend so much time trying to motivate yourself and change yourself and absorb and absorb and absorb. But connected women spend more time listening to themselves. That's a big difference. One is forcing and one is understanding. One is punishing and one is paying attention. And paying attention changes everything. Because when you start paying attention, patterns appear. See, some of us don't want to see our patterns. That's why we stay in those comfort zones. But when you start to recognize the patterns, now we can possibly unweave some knots. You get what I'm saying? Some kinks, you know what I'm saying? So once we observe these patterns, you start to notice what's draining you. You start to notice what brings you what brings you life, right? What makes you feel alive? You start noticing where you've abandoned yourself. You start noticing where you've been settling. See, this is what a lot of you guys are afraid of. You don't want to have to deal with that piece of you, right? You don't want to have to face the fact that you may have abandoned your true self, your core self. That you may have just settled in your life, on the job, in your marriage, right? You start noticing where you've been saying yes when every part of you really wanted to say no. And it's not because it's not that you're selfish. It's really just you becoming aware that there's an issue, that there's a disconnect. But it's also helping you to be aware that there is another side to you. Now, if you're listening and really realizing that this is you, I don't want you to walk away saying, wow, that episode was accurate, right? Because accuracy, it doesn't change your life, honey. Awareness has to become the action. You understand what I'm saying? The more aware we are of our patterns, the better we will know how to change it, what we need, right? So here's where I'd start. The first thing I do is stop asking myself every morning, what do I need to do today, child? What do I need to do today? That's it, right? What do I need to do today? And instead, I want you to ask, how do I need to show up for myself today? Because that's a completely different question. Now, I'm not saying that, ignore your tasks and responsibilities. But don't just focus on what we talked about earlier, handling, right? Let's focus on intentionality and working to choose how we show up instead of just repeating the same old stale version every single doggone day. All right. So I got another one. The second thing I do is start paying attention to energy. Not productivity, but energy. I want you to think, what leaves you feeling expanded, right? And what leaves you feeling depleted? I hope you guys are writing these questions down because this is really like your homework, okay? So far we have, how do I need to show up for myself today? What leaves me feeling expanded and what leaves me feeling depleted? Because your energy tells the truth long before your words do. Long before. Okay? And third, I want you to get curious. That's it. Get curious. You got to get out of this same stale day funk. Okay? Get curious. So instead of saying, what's wrong with me? I want you to try to ask yourself, what is this trying to tell me? Right? This is a different question. There'll be a different answer and a different outcome. Instead of what's wrong with me? Because then here come the pity party. Here comes the self-judgment and the lack of compassion. And this is how we start to not trust ourselves. Right? So what is this trying to tell me? This is us getting curious. Okay? Now, before we leave today, before next Tuesday, right? I'm going to give y'all another assignment, right? Because if Dorothy was here, right? Because Mission Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz, right? That's like the premise of the podcast. But here's the assignment I would give Dorothy. Once a day, I would tell her that I want you to pause for 60 seconds. That's all. 60. And ask yourself, what have I needed today that I haven't acknowledged? See, these are the types of questions that we need in order to self-explore. Right? I would ask Dorothy, girl, what have you noticed today that you haven't acknowledged? Because, we'll look over our feelings to placate somebody else's emotions, to hide and dim, right? Because we're anxious and scared to show up. But what have I needed today that I haven't acknowledged? Maybe it's rest. Maybe support. Maybe space, honesty, joy. Maybe it's nothing more than 10 quiet minutes. Sometimes we just need a moment to reset. And I don't want you to try to fix it. I don't want you to try to solve it. I just want you to notice it. Right? We have to notice things, acknowledge them first before we can create any kind of change. Because reconnection starts with recognition, right? You can't return to yourself if you never checked where you are. So in closing, Maybe you're not lazy. Maybe you've just spent so much time taking care of life that you stopped paying attention to the person living it. And if that's where you are, I want you to understand that it's not a character flaw. It's just a simple invitation, right? It's an invitation to come back home to yourself. And that's exactly what we're doing here. I'll see you next Tuesday on the podcast.